the jobs report for September, I think it came out. But the main thing that Donald Trump wants you to know is that things are amazing.
Everything is jobs now because I don't care. I care about jobs. And we have more jobs. It was just announced. We have more jobs right now than we've ever had in the history of our country. Those are big numbers. You know, it's like crazy. It's just a great stat. More jobs today than we've ever had in the history of our country. And we're going to be producing a lot more are coming.
We've got more jobs than ever imagined in the United States of America. Bigger than anything. You can't even think of the number. But reel it back a little bit. Everyone knows you're lying. You don't have to go that far over the top so we can see the cartoonish behavior behind your lies. It's how he operates, though. I get why people say he has like dementia, but the bottom line is he's a sociopath and he's completely detached from reality. It's again at this same forum he said this.
I'll never forget, I met with pollsters the day before I got the news about COVID, but I met with two pollsters because we were starting to think about the next election. They said, sir, if George Washington and Abraham Lincoln came back from the dead and they aligned and they went for the president, vice president as a combination, you'd be beating them by 25 points.
Sir. He started another bullshit story by saying, they came to me and they said, sir, everything is so great. You would beat George Washington and Abraham Lincoln if they ran a side-by-side ticket together. He always brings up Abraham Lincoln and George Washington and other these early on presidents. The problem is if those guys ran now, their platform of, like enslavement, I don't think it would work right now. I have this idea that it may not work right now. We keep forgetting, there was the beginnings of this country. Of course, we were all about enslaving people, and benefiting from it, making fortunes off of it. So maybe he'd have a chance because, he's only Nazi-like, which they didn't hear about for a while. It was just enslaving people here at first with our original presidents. So anyways, I am glad he brought up the COVID thing, though, at the back end, because that's when they told him about how he'd be beating so many people. That is until COVID came along and screwed him up. This is part of how he handled that unknown thing called COVID at the time.
When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people. You're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
You guys remember that? He didn't want testing to happen during COVID because if testing happened during COVID, people would know the numbers and see how devastating it is. And then he would look bad. Who gives a damn about people dying? Who gives a damn about people's perception and knowledge of what it is that's going on so they can help protect themselves? Who cares? He explained further when they asked him.
At that rally, when you said you asked your people to slow down testing, were you just kidding or do you have a plan to slow down testing?
I don't kid. Let me just tell you, let me make it clear. We have got the greatest testing program anywhere in the world. We test better than anybody in the world. Our tests are the best in the world, and we have the most of them. By having more tests, we find more cases.
Don't forget that mindset. Slow the testing down, please. And the more testing we have, the more cases we know. Well, I'm sorry, that exist in his brain. They don't exist. Humans don't exist that are suffering under whatever is happening unless we go and find out about it. But as long as we don't go find out about it, what the fuck do I got to do with that? I'm just the president. What's wrong with you guys? But the main thing I want to highlight there is, since we're talking about how his approach to COVID was to slow down the testing and not let anyone know what is that's happening, he's carrying that into this administration as well, specifically about those job numbers that we started with, because now they've shut down and said there's going to be no job numbers for October. Here's details. The closely watched economic data is collected via two components for job numbers: a survey of employer payrolls that is used for top-line changes in the number of people working, and a parallel survey of individual households that provides the unemployment rate and other demographic information about the workforce. It says, quote, the household survey data is not able to be retroactively collected. That's what the Bureau of Labor Statistics said. BLS noted that it would include the October payroll survey in its November report, which also is getting moved from December 5th to December 16th. Additionally, the agency said it's extending its collection period for November data, and extra processing time will then be added to that as well. they're a mess. Do you remember when Donald Trump took over Bureau of Labor Statistics and then fired the commissioner of it because he was upset about the bad jobs numbers and unemployments and anything else that's provided in the Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers? He was really mad about it, and now they're going to streamline it and make it so much better. But a lot of folks predicted that it would soon be shut down. Here we are in the middle of November, and the is shut down. The cancellation will mean that economists, businesses, and policymakers, including those at the Federal Reserve, will continue to navigate a tricky economic environment for several more weeks with only a partial picture of where things stand. That is, until BLS can return to its pre-shutdown rhythm that observers depend on. So this extension for the November report also means it'll arrive after Fed leaders meet in December. Very convenient, isn't it? He's obsessive about the Fed and talking about Jerome Powell, and we need to lower more rates based off of how great things are, which absolutely makes no sense. But the main thing here is that they're going to make sure they suspend these October numbers. Delay them into mid-December. From Reuters, they explain why. U.S.-based employers cut more than 150,000 jobs in October, marking the biggest reduction for the month in more than 20 years. That's a report by Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. That's what they said on Thursday, as these industries adopt AI-driven changes and intensify cost cuts. So pause for a second. They said this is based by this Challenger, Gray, and Christmas report because, again, Bureau of Labor Statistics isn't doing any of this anymore. So we have to go to other, measurements. I'm not sure what their collection data is, but based off of what they've given, which we have to skimp and go by whatever it is that is available, more than 150,000 jobs in October were cut. So again, back to Donald Trump's main thought. If we don't test, we don't have any cases. So therefore, if we don't have any job numbers, apparently 150,000 plus jobs being cut in October doesn't exist. Cost cutting was the top reason for the layoffs in October, followed by artificial intelligence, while also the Doge impact was the leading reason for job cuts in this entire year. In case you guys forgot, Doge cuts are the things that Donald Trump and Elon Musk, he deputized Elon Musk to go and raid our entire economy and destroy things and fire people and go through every agency and call everything waste, fraud, and abuse, along with the rest of the Republicans to say all that, just so they can destroy people's lives. And now that people's lives are destroyed, they're now going to cover it up. But luckily, they dispatch stupid people like the HUD Secretary, Scott Turner, to tell you that it's not Donald Trump's fault. What it is it's those pesky immigrants.
Your department is also probing how illegal immigrants have put a strain on the housing market. What can you tell us? You signed a memorandum with the DHS to end wasteful misappropriation of taxpayer money.
Absolutely.
For, quote, illegal alien exploitation of housing programs. You're also working with the Federal Housing Administration to crack down on government-backed mortgages for illegals. How do they get a mortgage if you're actually illegal in the country?
Well, Marie, during the Biden administration, there were over 12 million illegal aliens that came over the border, straining our housing supply and making the costs go up. And so we work with Secretary Noem at DHS, as you alluded to make sure that only American citizens are living in HUD-funded housing. We also took away FHA-backed mortgages from illegal aliens during the Biden administration. They turned a blind eye. But we're going to keep the law to make sure that these mortgages, which are backed by the taxpayer, go only to the American people. And lastly, we are mandating that every public housing authority give us a comprehensive account who's living in every unit in taxpayer HUD-funded housing.
Wow,
Scott. It's like you didn't answer the question. Because, the question was, how is it that these undocumented immigrants are getting all these federally backed loans for houses? How are they doing it? Well, the Biden administration. All he said was what he's fixing as he made up what it was that the problem was. Never explained how the problem got to what it is that they're explaining that it is, because they're untrustworthy, because they lie about everything. Here's a really good question. I know, we're almost done. A really good question. How is it that these illegals are murderers, criminals, rapists, and drug dealers come in, pour, and siphon off of all of our federal funds and use up SNAP benefits and destroy everything and don't pay anything in taxes? That's the Republican talking point. They're poor and destitute and do nothing but cause crime. While at the same time, they're affording $400,000 houses. Where are they working? I thought they're just doing all this, undocumented work where people are exploiting them and they're not making much money. But somehow they're also affording all these dollars and also applying for federal housing assistance that allow them to buy these things. If you think it's just Scott Turner, you're wrong.
A lot of young people are saying housing is way too expensive. Why is that? Because we flooded the country with 30 million illegal immigrants who were taking houses that ought by right go to American citizens. And at the same time, we weren't building enough new houses to begin with, even for the population that we had.
They keep taking all the houses and your jobs and I guess all the crime too. Let's just blame everything. It doesn't have to make any sense.